Hi, AJ Hartley here, novelist, Shakespeare professor, fan of good TV, and today I'm going to be talking about two shows, Bad Sisters and Deadloch. Before we get into the review itself, I'm talking about mysteries and thrillers because I write mysteries and thrillers, among other things. So if you haven't already checked out my stuff, please do so. There's a link in the description that will take you to my website, and you'll find all the books there by AJ Hartley and Andrew Hart, which is my other writing name, and I hope you find something there that you like.
God gave John Paul the strength to be an unforgettable human being. Let us give thanks for the joy he spread his whole life long.
Everything bad that could have happened has happened. Except that.
Who knows if there's foul play here, but if there is, the culprit usually shows up at the funeral.
All right, Columbo.
Claffin and Sons. We're handling John Paul's life insurance policy. Were you very close?
Yeah, he was our brother-in-law.
My condolences, Mrs. Williams. Oh, egg and onion. It's like you knew I was coming. Did you?
She can't find out what we did.
Do you like it?
Can I grab you some?
I know you don't think he's a good man.
Families, they're complex.
I'm warning you. She doesn't respect you because you're weak.
I found myself an old red light tattooed on a sign.
She wasn't always like that. He's sucking the life out of her. Well, we'll just have to wait till he dies of cancer or something.
Why not give nature a helping hand?
We're talking about taking a man's life. Not a man. That monster.
I'm on a
That's demented.
You're gonna land yourselves and me in jail.
I'm hungry. You? No.
There's no evidence. We should be looking for fraud. Murder is fraud, and there's a life policy to pay out.
It's not happening. It was one moment of madness. 2 moments of madness.
You're vile.
He thinks someone's trying to kill him.
That's insane.
So this is one that has only just sort of come onto my radar. It was actually released in 2022, based on originally, I guess, a Belgian show called Clan, but this is a very Irish reinterpretation, refashioning of the story, set in the Dublin area with an all Irish cast and an Irish production team led by Sharon Horgan, who's a comic actress, I guess, but I'm not familiar with her work. But I really liked this show. It's described as a black comedy, and it has that very deadpan Irish kind of humor to it. It works, though, as a mystery thriller also, which is why I'm including it in this little raft of reviews. The premise of the show is a group of very tight-knit Irish sisters who have grown up particularly close because their parents have been dead for a long time, led by the oldest sister, Eva. And one of them is married to a guy who is a monster. I mean, there's part of what makes the show so compelling for me is that he is absolutely plausible to me. And he's one of these ego-driven, controlling, restrictive, nice guys. And it's the niceness that I think is so hard to take, because he's respectable, he's good at putting on a front, but he's manipulative, emotionally particularly, and controls his wife and to a lesser extent their daughter, but particularly his wife, in ways that mean that she has sort of crumpled, shrunk, and is gradually sort of disappearing. This is how the sisters see it. The sisters all have, this is the primary driving force of the story, but the sisters also have personal reasons to particularly hate JP. And the story begins on his death. And then in a series of, I thought, really well done cuts between the present and different versions of the past, different moments within the past, we see the various plans that the sisters have come up with to get rid of him, to kill him. What we don't know, of course, at the beginning is how they were successful, or if they were successful, or which of them was finally responsible for it. And as I said, they all have their own backstory and the intricacies of their little plots. And what we're watching is them moving towards the moment of his death, while in the present being investigated by an insurance company who, for reasons of their own, don't want to pay out on the dead man's life insurance policy. And they are trying to prove that there's some kind of malfeasance, which means that they don't have to deliver the money. It's a simple enough idea, and things like this have been done before, but I thought it was really, really well done. And it is both funny and suspenseful. And I think that, it's mostly been well reviewed, but there are some sort of standout negative reviews. Yeah, the Hollywood Reporter called it fun but empty. Bit of an oddity, easy to breeze through, but a little too mordant to be sincere, a little too heavy to be hilarious, a little too sour to be purely fun. And this seems to me to be the response of somebody who is used to genres existing as discrete boxes and doesn't know where to put it. And I get that, but I think the interpretation or the assessment is completely wrong. What we watch in the course of the story is a series of ideas and attempts to kill this guy which don't work. As we move towards, presumably, I'm not going to tell you what happens, something that does work. And each time something goes wrong, it's sort of catastrophic in one way or another. So there is it's a dark farce. But that Hollywood Reporter review, to me, says this is coming from somebody who doesn't understand that humor cannot also be serious. That goofball whimsy cannot have more than a grain of truth and a grain of weight to it. And that, to me, is what I really liked about this. It's why I like writers like Terry Pratchett, who can be funny and serious, somber, emotional all at the same time. There's no paradox there. And what makes the show work to me, that I think the characterization is really strong throughout, the acting is really strong, but it's him. I've known people like this. I've seen them, a particular kind of petty cruelty in the running of his own little fiefdom, which to me is entirely plausible. And though the story takes a kind of dark, comically fantastic twist on how people are going to deal with this, the idea that somebody like this is worthy of murder seems to me entirely possible and plausible. And that's the truth at the heart of the show. That whatever else these women are doing, there's a desire to save their sister from somebody who everyone, on some level, everyone knows is the worst kind of villain. Not least because he always gets away with it. And because he knows how to walk that line where the manipulation and the cruelty is always shaded with a touch of respectability and politeness and humor, and it disguises the extent to which he's a truly horrible, appalling person. And one of the other things I liked about it is that even that in the show is not excused, but it is partly explained. That even the villain of the piece is not a completely motiveless, mustache twirling, tie them to the railway tracks kind of villain. The psychology of it, to me, is quite plausible, even if there's a sense in which the show magnifies and distorts in the way that good fantasy always does, taking the reality and making it a little larger than life and a little clearer, and in this case a little funnier and a little more sinister as well. So it's great. Yeah, Bad Sisters, check it out. I should say, I mean, this is a sort of a gendered show. It's obviously the brand of villainy that this guy manifests is a distinctly domestic male thing. But it's not a, whatever the hell this is supposed to be, man-bashing show. It's not that at all. There are other male characters in the show who are perfectly sympathetic and decent, though all of these people's lives are layered and complicated, which is part of the strength. It's on Apple Plus. I think I didn't see it in late 2022 because I had let my subscription lapse for a while. I think I was done with Ted Lasso, and that was about as much as Severance, and nothing else seemed to appeal to me. So I am a little late to the party, but it was worth seeing. And I believe there's going to be a second season, though not entirely sure where that would go. Oh, and there is a really delightfully creepy musical introduction with a kind of almost like stop motion animation sequence, which is quite unsettling, but nicely done, and captures well the feel of the whole piece. The song, incidentally, is Leonard Cohen's "Who by Fire" as performed by PJ Harvey, and it's nicely uncomfortable making. Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of Deadloch.
Trent's dead.
Very sorry, Gavin.
I love that cunt like a brother.
He was your brother?
We've recruited an interstate detective to lead the case.
Yes, sir.
Eddie Redcliffe is my name. The first 24 hours of an investigation are crucial.
He was discovered 27 hours ago, ma'am.
Ah, right. Hey, you fucked that up already, haven't you? What's this?
5 years ago, Deadloch's mare washed up dead on the same beach.
And according to this, his tongue was eaten by a seal. What?
Get your gun.
What? No.
Get your gun.
There was no evidence at the scene, no footprints, no DNA. This is bigger than one death. What's happened to them, James? This might be connected.
There is no connection.
If you have information about the murders, you can just write a note and put it in the anonymous tip-off koala.
I think they're watching me.
The killer has been living under my nose in Deadloch for 5 years. I probably know him.
I'd like to take a look in that sawmill, Phil.
Would you? You know what you're going to need for that? A warrant.
Oh my God! There's somebody there!
The killer isn't just surviving in Deadloch, he's thriving.
There's something maybe you should see.
We are missing something. We need a new outlook.
We have had enough. It's a code black disaster.
Are the murders connected?
No comment!
So good to feel the heat from all sides. That way you get cooked alive faster.
An Australian show came out also earlier this year, 2023, set in a small town in Australia, following the female law enforcement lead, she's the sergeant in the local police force, and people start dying, or people start turning up dead, men. Because this is a very small town, another detective is sent from elsewhere. and she is the opposite of the other of the lead detective. Dulcie is the lead detective, and the one who comes in is called Eddie, and she is out of control, crass, sort of disgusting, repellent in many ways, but also brash in a very distinctly Australian way, a very sort of laying everything on the line, confident and dismissive of authority and rules of decorum and politeness and so on, but also damaged. And the story is about, in part at least, about these two women figuring out how they're going to work together, because they are chalk and cheese as the body count in the town mounts. And there is a kind of running discussion throughout the show which focuses on the emergence of a kind of liberal feminist zeitgeist and what this does to the people of the town, for better and worse. I don't think the show is taking a particularly strong political line, but it does wrestle with these kind of new emerging notions of the rejection of old patriarchal ideas and so on. You know, I thought it was well done. It becomes the plot itself becomes increasingly preposterous, but there's enough humor in it for it to work anyway. I think in some ways the resolution of the mystery was the least satisfying part, but I really liked it, particularly for the dynamic between the main characters, the main women. And it reminded me, one of them, the lead character, what's her name, Kate Box, who was on a show, an Australian show called Rake, about a lawyer, which I really liked. It was also a sort of comedy drama. This is more clearly a comedy crime show, and it takes the mystery quite seriously, but it has something of that same tonality, that slightly dour humor and playfulness, which I think, you know, is really engaging. So yeah, I really liked that too. Deadloch. That's it. As ever, please like, comment, subscribe. If there are shows you would particularly like me to talk about, let me know in the comments and we will take it from there. Thank you to my patrons. Please check out my books and I will talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.